English winners, today we're going to talk about how to quit your job responsibly in an English-speaking country. So, you need to quit your job for whatever reason. Maybe the work environment is just not good for you. Maybe you need to spend more time with your family, or you're switching to another job, or you're changing careers. Eventually, you will have to quit a job. So we're going to talk about how to do it without burning bridges. Now, burning bridges means ruining relationships and closing the door on opportunities. So you don't want to burn bridges. You want to keep opportunities open. Maybe one day you will have to come back to that job. Maybe you like that job and would like an opportunity to work again. Maybe you hate the job, but might still need it later because of some future event you don't know about. So here's how to keep the door of opportunity open to you, even though you're quitting your job. So first off, the wrong way. If you want to quit the wrong way, it's pretty simple. You just leave. And if you can be dramatic, you can be like, I quit! And then you leave. Now that is a way of punishing your boss, because now they need to find somebody else to do your work, and they have to train them, and the entire time they're losing money. So do not do that. That burns bridges. So here's another thing worth mentioning. In the future, when you apply for another job, at least in America, your new boss may want to call your old boss on the phone to check to see if it's a good reference. And so they'll call your old boss on the phone and they'll ask if you worked for that company. Now, legally, they are not allowed to say, yeah, but he was a shitty employee or he was no good. No, they can't make statements like that, but they can say, yeah, he worked here. Or no, I don't remember anybody like that. Or, I looked through my records and yes, we did have a person by that name who worked here. Now, a lot can be communicated through tone of voice. There's a difference between, yeah, he worked here, yeah, and yes, yeah, he worked here. Big difference. One is excited and fondly remembering somebody, and the other is, oh great, that's where he went. So even though they're following the law, tone of voice can say a lot. And so being nice to your current boss that you are about to quit working for is very important. So here is how to quit your job the smart way. You make a letter of resignation. A letter of resignation basically tells your boss that, hey, I'm quitting to pursue other opportunities. You don't need to get too deep into why. Most employers don't really want to know why. But you can leave a vague reason like, I found a better work environment for my new life situation, something like that. And be sure to thank your boss for the opportunities that you've had and the times you've had working there. Because you have had some good times, even if it's a job you don't entirely like. And then you give that to your boss, or find a way to make sure he gets it in a very discreet way. You don't want to do this publicly. When should you do the letter of resignation? That's a good question. You want to give the boss the time to find somebody new to fill your job position and train them so that when you leave, the employer, your boss, does not lose anything. So at least 2 weeks. And if it takes longer than 2 weeks to train somebody for your job, then give a longer window of time. This is just a courtesy to your boss. Now, sometimes opportunities open up quickly. You don't have time to give 2 weeks notice, but inform your employer as soon as you can and be polite about it, and that will go a long way. Last word of advice, if there's any items the company gave you, return those items. Maybe that includes uniforms, equipment, company car, office supplies, letterhead, anything that the company gave you to do your job, because they can still use that stuff again. And if you don't, it is technically stealing because it belongs to that company. So be very respectful of other people's property because they spent money on those things for your benefit. That's it for our video on quitting your job responsibly. Just remember, letter of resignation, give your employer time to train somebody else and return any items they gave you for doing your job. And if you like this video, please subscribe below. If you have any stories about your experience quitting a job, I'd like to know in the comments. And lastly, I'll leave a link to my video on listening comprehension and another one on my Good to Know playlist, which reviews business concepts that are just good to know. Until then, keep on winning, English winners. I'll see you later.